Hello and welcome to Autofocus. My name is Brooke. I'm your host, and I am joined today with Dan Bennett. Hey, Dan, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your background? It's super, super cool.
Yeah, for sure. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm totally looking forward to this. In the middle of a busy day, this is like recess for me, so it should be fun. So I used to do a little bit of film and television, but a lot of corporate work and a lot of government contracting. Big jobs, checks always cleared. I got some cool stories and met some cool people, but it was never very fulfilling. And I'm originally from Flint, Michigan. Not a lot of opportunity in a very poor city. And I would have to go outside of my city, oftentimes outside of my state, to find work. So I was traveling all over the country doing these projects for large companies and stuff. And I'd come back home and no one could afford me. It made it kind of hard to sleep at night. So I was in a dedicated office building downtown Flint, looking through the glass at my fellow entrepreneurs who couldn't afford our day rates. I'm like, how do I help people right here in my own backyard? And it wasn't a quick answer. I thought about it all the time and I struggled with it quite a bit. In 2017, I was moving from behind the camera to in front of it for my own company because I was starting to kind of catch the content bug and wanting to make more videos for my own company. And in the process of doing that, I realized very quickly that my filmmaking knowledge made that transition pretty easy. So then my brain started thinking like, okay, could I take the fluff and the jargon and the theory out of filmmaking and just leave the bones, the system of what makes a video good, and teach that to creators and entrepreneurs and professionals? Mm-hmm. So they don't get overwhelmed or feel like they have to become a videographer or a filmmaker. They could just look at it like a system they could implement, just like bookkeeping, sales, and marketing. So I started to put that into practice through building out a Sentry stand that had wheels on the bottom. So I had a camera, a little shotgun mic just out of frame, a little LED panel on the side. And I'd walk around my building, all 7 floors, like an IV cart, just wheeling this thing around. And I could hit go anywhere I wanted to. So I had all kinds of backgrounds in my video. People saw me doing this, like, what is that? What's going on? Why are you walking around with this thing? And I'd often invite them to jump on camera with me real quick because I could just film anywhere I wanted, anytime. That started to get people thinking like, oh, I wouldn't mind having something in my office, or, if I could do something similar. Everything came together at that point. I'm like, I bet you could. So the thought of wanting to help people film themselves, and then this kind of mobile cart, if you will, that made that possible right in front of people's eyes, landed me my first couple clients, and it worked. So nice. Fast forward to 2020, we all know what happens then. Like many, many people, we lost a lot, had to shut down our company and a big business conference we were doing and all this stuff. And then as I kind of emerged out of the other side in August 2020 of the shutdown, I started to get requests from people that were like, hey, you help people build studios. I'm still doing what I was doing before, but as a consultant, I can't go in my client's building anymore. So they want me to do it via Zoom, but I look terrible. Can you help? And so my brain's like, okay, well, we've done a lot of studio builds. Can we do it remotely without going into a facility or someone's house? I don't know. And then we did it and it worked. So our first couple clients came through in September 2020. And for the first time in my life, I felt like I was ahead of the curve when it came to something.
Yeah.
And so ever since then, we've really hyper focused on helping people who film themselves do it at a really high quality, and trying to help make that production process as simple as possible for people who aren't filmmakers. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's really cool. So when you were telling people like virtually how to set up their studios, were you literally like, move that picture a little to the left, little to the right? Like,
yeah. And I was terrified at the same time because I didn't quite know if it was possible. Every studio I had done up until that time, I was there. And I would still talk them through what I was doing and why, and show them how to use it when we were done, but I was there. And I made as many like simple video tutorials as I could to get them through setting up the basics, but not trying to make it perfect. And the goal was always, if you can just get the DSLR connected to the, capture card and plugged into your computer, and I can look through it, the rest I'll help you with. And that was always the main goal. And then it was, I often joke, I've been on many like rides through people's rooms as they move the camera, and I'm just watching whatever they're pointing at.
Which angle is the best? Yeah.
Yeah. And then once we get settled and all that kind of stuff, that's where the filmmaking knowledge comes in. And I'm like, yep, move that over here. Let's adjust the lighting. Let's adjust the camera settings. You don't have to remember any of this. It'll be set it and forget it once we're done. And so session 2 of our studio process was always that fine tuning and tweaking, which is oftentimes kind of fun. And I got to bring my personality and calming nature into it too. So if people were kind of rattled, they could kind of settle down with me. And it's like, we'll spend the time, we'll get there. It's okay. So yeah, the first couple were a little bit bumpy, but they actually went way better than I expected.
And you said, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Cause like, yeah, you want to see, you want to be in the room and you can tell like, oh, you don't want to use this corner because of, it's too crowded
Yeah.
or, and so
Yeah.
you can't really see that. But how do you do the backgrounds? Cause I love your background right now. And tell us where the chili peppers come from.
Yeah. Yeah. So obviously, like any system, you get better and better over time. So nowadays, part of the homework, oftentimes before we even get to session one, is to do a video tour of your space very slowly with a smartphone, real simple, and tell me everything you love, everything you hate, what can move and what has to stay right where it's at, and slowly pan around the room, even a couple times if you want. And then give me rough measurements. And so we do a top-down schematic, very lightweight, just to put this here, clamp this onto your desk here and here. And as long as you can get that part done, we can tweak all the rest on the call. So nowadays, I say if you can put IKEA furniture together, you can totally do this. Every once in a while, that backfires, and people are like, "I hate IKEA furniture."
Yeah.
but if you can follow some simple directions, watch a couple tutorial videos, you're all set. The chili peppers comes from the business name Hot Sauce Video. And kind of where that came from was for a long time, we were called Video for Entrepreneurs because I just wanted a simple name where people understood what we did and didn't have to question it all the time. But we kind of outgrew that name because we were helping a lot of creators and professionals, and not everyone identifies as an entrepreneur. And during that time, we released a product called Hot Sauce Editing. And we called it that because when we would help people build their studios, they'd be really excited to see themselves look and sound good now. And oftentimes there was a momentum that came with like, wow, I've never seen myself look and sound this good. Like, I don't hate it. Like, this is kind of cool, And we wanted to hold that momentum. So what I would do is say, cool, now record yourself. Even if we don't put it out to the public, hit record, introduce yourself, talk about your business. I don't care. Do anything. And we'll just throw a little hot sauce on it. We'll just edit it a little bit and give it back so you can see what's possible now that you look and sound good. At that time, we didn't even have an editing product. I wasn't upselling them. I was just trying to keep that momentum alive as long as possible because I knew what was coming, which was a whole bunch of hard work.
Yeah.
So when we put out the Hot Sauce Editing product, which is a subscription-based post-production product, it started to get out in front of us, and the brand took on a life of its own, and it got away from my face, and I didn't have to be the face of it or the personal brand of it. People were trusting the process and the team, not just Dan as a good editor, all these different things. And as that grew and grew, it really started making me think of, I wonder if we could just kind of spread this, pun intended, across the whole business, just put hot sauce across the whole thing.
Hot sauce on it all. Yeah.
And so in the background for about a year and a half, without even telling my team, I was cooking. I was just making like a logo and a little website type thing and putting stuff together to see if I really wanted to give it the full go. And then I showed the team some samples and they're like, why are we not doing this already? So we went full. I hired out some people, got stuff done quick. And this past June, we launched as Hot Sauce Video. And it's been fun because it's opened up creativity and all that kind of stuff. And of course, I can have a little fun with the background too, with the chili peppers and the hot honey. And basically anything that's spicy or zesty or hot, we're throwing all those puns in our emails and our correspondence now. So it's fun.
That was really fun. So the hot sauce started with editing, but you had already been doing like other stuff like studios and everything. So
Yep.
So
and we just, and it's our whole approach to business in general when it comes to the creative part of it is we're never trying to like turn someone into something or force them to read our script or something like that. We're really trying to take how awesome people already are and just put a little hot sauce on it. And my thoughts always go to, I had a childhood friend who would always put Frank's on his omelets. And we'd always go to the diners in Flint, Michigan. He'd put Frank's on his omelets. And
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it might be a Midwest type of thing, but he's like, it just makes it a little bit better. And so that always comes into my mind that we're not trying to change you. We're just trying to enhance what you're already doing.
Enhance what you're doing by making you look good, by adding all of the lights, the mic, the camera, a better camera than like a webcam. So
you keep doing you. We'll just enhance it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what is your preferred gear? What do you recommend when it comes to gear?
Simple. And I really mean that. So I'm not necessarily brand loyal, although I use the same brands all the time. Generally, we're working with like a low to mid-level Sony DSLR. I don't care if it's Canon. I don't care if it's something else. Sony's just really good with the autofocus. So we've just kind of been in that world for a long time. On the low end of professional introduction, when we're helping with someone with the studio, we're at the ZV-E10 Mark II with a non-proprietary Tamron zoom lens. because it's always really important to have a zoom lens in a home office studio, because you don't want to move the camera for your framing. You want to be able to zoom in and out so that camera can stay where it belongs. But again, back to simple, not brand loyal, but I love any dynamic mic that's USB. So no interface, no messing around, just plug it in and go. Because again, we're not working with, people who are super familiar with this kind of equipment. Oftentimes they're just entrepreneurs or professionals who want to make really high quality content. I use a Samsung Q9U. I've been using them for years. But Rode's got some good stuff. Anything that's dynamic and just plug and play USB, I love. Lately, we've been using a lot of Elgato products. They've really stepped up their game over the last 5 years of understanding that streaming goes beyond just gaming. So we're going to calls, we're creating content. So the Elgato teleprompter called Prompter, I like to recommend quite a bit, as well as
I'm using it right now.
Yeah, I love them. I love them. The arm that I'm using is really low profile. It flexes horizontally instead of vertically, so it keeps it out of your shot. That's an Elgato product. And then, lights are always just kind of whatever's on sale, as long as it's dimmable and color changeable LED panels that are really soft. I don't care who makes them. So we kind of just look at what's on sale that week. But yeah, just keep it simple and basic and try not to overwhelm our clients. Just let them know most of the stuff is just plug it in, set it once with me, and then you don't got to touch it again except on and off after that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's easy. Yeah. Just can you turn it on? Can you turn it off? And it's gonna be great. Yeah.
Yeah. Eliminating friction is a daily goal of mine. Yeah.
That's awesome. So, okay. Now that you have the gear, it doesn't matter what kind of gear you have, because especially if you are just really uncomfortable on the camera, like I just think of like the Ricky Bobby where they're like, I don't know what to do with my hands. So what do you do with people that are like, I don't know what to do with my hands?
Yeah, this is generally where I make my wince face. And I'm like, oh, the only part I can't do for you, even if you gave me $1 million, is get the reps in for you. So this is where we go baseline and boring, and there's no way to escape it. And it's just like, if you want abs, you get into a calorie deficit and you do some sit-ups. I mean, I hate it too, but this is, what it takes to be great on camera. And I generally point most of our tools, whether free or paid, as someone's a client, towards getting to these places over time, as well as being very, very vulnerable and open myself about the fact that I've been doing this forever. I got all the gear you need. I've made thousands of videos. I've been in front of millions of people over my career. And I still have mornings I wake up and I'm like, nah, I'm not feeling this. This is not what I want to do today. And then I eat my own dog food. I go through my own processes. I do the breathing exercise, or I ground myself, or I try to remember someone's on the other side of this video that might be helped by me having this idea today. And that's important. And it gets a little heady when it comes to that stuff, but it's all very true, because at the end of the day, once you're all set up, it's all about mindset at that point in time. So I try and help them through the same journey that I'm often on myself. And then a lot of the tools I create, like I said, are around those. So a really fun one that I could share with you really quick is the see no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil tool that we have. So if you imagine the monkeys and your little emojis covering their eyes and ears and mouth, I have people film themselves. Just do it, selfie style with a smartphone, no tripod, just hold it and talk. Doesn't matter what you talk about. Talk about something you already know, like the weather or your favorite kind of food.
Like what you had that day. Yeah.
What are you having just for lunch? Keep it real simple. And then just watch that back without sound. So you're just seeing how you move, seeing what it looks like. Would you watch this? Does it keep interest? And then turn the camera away from you and listen without watching. So hear no evil. How's your pacing? Do you use a lot of filler words? Are you feel rushed, or you feel way too slow? And then the final is speak no evil. So you watch the whole thing together with this new kind of concept of critiquing yourself, but doing it lovingly, and then try and make the next video you make a little bit better based on the feedback you've given yourself by running this process. So it's not foolproof. You don't do it once and you're fixed, but that's one of those little tools that if you remember, you can kind of run it, look at something you've created, watch it without sound, listen without visuals, and then do the whole thing and be kind to yourself when you do. And you generally can get a few percent better pretty quick every time you make a video. So
that's really good advice, especially the be kind to yourself, like judge yourself not as harshly. I mean, I know
Yeah.
I'm definitely a behind the camera person. And so, you always have to like push yourself to be out there, and you have to push yourself to just not judge yourself. Like,
Yeah.
you look at, and I've had to edit myself too. Like when you're, like during I did an interview and then I had to go back and edit it, and then you realize like how many weird facial expressions you make, and you should never
Yeah.
watch yourselves talk in slow motion ever. But yeah, so I know
Fair.
that's a really nice thing, because like you just kind of have to get over it, and because no
Yeah.
one else is judging you the way you're judging you.
Yeah, and there's a promise I make to people. It's one of the few promises we can make. Unfortunately, the timeline of the promise I can never tell anyone, and that's that you will reach a point if you care about this, if you're really trying to make a go of it. I don't know when, but you will reach a point where the metal and electronics and glass and plastic of a camera does become the potential person that might see this. And that does click for people all the time. The timeline's always different for everyone, but you can reach that comfortability. And if you get lucky like me, sometimes down the road, you watch your videos back, it's not even you anymore. Like when I edit my own stuff or I'm looking at my own stuff, I don't even see me anymore. I see a guy talking about stuff, and is this digestible or not? And it's kind of cool because I'm not worried as much as I was 10 years ago, because I've just
Mhm.
done this so many times that you can kind of tune out, the gremlins, and really focus on what matters, which is pacing and storytelling, and is it cohesive, and the things that actually make a video good. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the things you should be worried about, because yeah, like
Yeah.
that's what people want to see. Like nobody
Yeah.
wants to see you like trying to be super super perfect and not make a certain facial expression. So,
Yeah.
because I mean it literally is like a frame per second or something. Like not even.
It,
Like there's like what, 30 frames per second, and you
yeah.
made that frame, it was like one frame out of 30 seconds has a weird facial expression.
Yeah. Yeah. And, if someone's paying that close attention to what you're making, you might have a fan. So, hey.
Yeah. Well, the only one that's paying that close attention to me is my mother.
Yeah.
I had to turn the lights down this time because the last time I was in here, she said I looked washed out. So
Yeah.
I've worked
You're,
on the lighting, mother. Like,
you're so pale, dear.
you're so pale. I'm like, I got it from you, like the Irish. So yeah.
That's fun.
But still, just like, so basically being comfortable on camera doesn't come naturally. Like, have you
No.
ever seen anybody where it was just supernatural?
No, I've tricked people into being natural because they didn't know any better. But no, unless they were already trained, had PR training or acted or even had like improv or stage in high school, those people can kind of turn on and off that mechanism a little bit, and that helps. But average folks, no, I've never seen anyone just crush it again, unless we trick them, or if it was interview style. And after some time, I got them to kind of forget the camera's running and we're just talking, and then we get really good natural conversational clips out of that. No. And if someone ever did, I'd give them some award, because it's weird. What we do is weird. And it can feel normal when you're watching someone you don't know on screen tell a great story. It's just content at that point. But when it's you, it's just weird. So I embrace the weirdness and just try and tell the best story I can. A
Yeah.
running joke I have with many other entrepreneurs that I talk to is like, I've led thousands of horses to water. And then I just stopped the sentence, because you can't make people drink. And in this case, making the horse drink is getting the reps in. That's the only natural cause of just getting comfortable. And it's never about like, I now love video and I'm on camera doing. No, it's about getting to a point to where it doesn't hurt enough to keep you from hitting record. That's that level we're trying to reach.
Yeah. Yeah. And I guess make you consistent.
Yeah.
Like you want it, like you
100%.
want to be consistent, because you aren't, you don't hate it,
Yeah.
So
And that's the key to the whole thing. And I'm not just saying that. Like, that's such a big focal point internally with our team, is like consistency, and how do we get someone there? And people's mechanisms are always a little custom to who they are, but the big overarching ideas never change. So we're always looking to get the gap between having a great idea and comfortably hitting record to be as small as possible. But then we tell people, even my gap after all this time is not closed. And it varies depending on the kind of week I'm having. But the one guarantee with my gap is that it's always something I can step over. It's not something I have to get a running start and jump over and hope anymore. So putting the effort to get that gap between, I got a great idea, let me hit record, to be as painless as possible is really what we're after. It's not about perfection or one day you're going to love hitting record. Because again, I have mornings where I'm like, no, this ain't it. Like, I'm just not loving this today.
Yeah. So is that one of those things? So it's kind of like as you're getting them closer, and if it's something that they really want to do and they really enjoy, like they're going to make time for it. And so
Yeah.
that's another thing. And so it's like, if you're, it's almost like if you're a content creator and you have taken a break and you aren't creating content, like ask yourself why. Like, why haven't you done it? Like if you enjoy doing it and now you don't, like what is that, like what is stopping you? And then like address that area, even if it could literally be editing, or like you don't want to, you like distributing takes forever. I feel like that's where like most podcasts hit a wall when they get to like, they're like, editing is hard.
So true. And once you answer why, ask why again, and then maybe go to that whole 5 whys thing and go as deep as you can. Because oftentimes you'll discover things that have nothing to do with technology or nothing to do with like your performance. It could do with mindset. It could do with fear. It could do with, again, I don't like hard things just as much as the next human. I do hard things all the time, but I don't say yay when I do. So maybe identifying the most friction and eliminating that somehow, or at least sanding it down so it's not quite so rough, is the real goal. It's never about get to A, from A to B quick. It's get to B a little more comfortably. Like that's what we're after. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also wonder, do people get discouraged? Like if they're like, I've done like 30 episodes and like I get like 5 views on my post.
Yes.
I feel like that's another hurdle that is a whole other hurdle that you can't help people with. It's like consistency and just keep going.
Yeah. We have a blessing and a curse when it comes to like visualization of our products. So the blessing is there's a before and after element to home office studio, and there's a before and after element to editing. But in the middle, we have a strategy product, and it's the most life-changing product we have. It's the least sold and the hardest to market because there's not a direct ROI attached to it outside of case studies showing what's possible. I can't say to someone, you'll 5x your business if you just put this strategy in place for 18 months. I can't say it. I don't know what's going to happen. I know it'll be better than where you're at right now, but you then have to put money versus better and see if those match up for you. And it's tough because I want to make guarantees. I know people can do things. I've watched it for 16 years, but there is that element. And that's where being honest and truthful is like all I've got. I can show you what we've done over the last 8 years. I can show you what our clients have done. I can't take, credit for all of that, but some of it, we put them on a right trajectory or helped with consulting or whatever. But I always have to be honest and be like, the only thing I can tell you is video done well over time compounds. And if you utilize something really strong like YouTube to do that compounding over time, you'll see results. I just can't tell you what they are, how long it's going to take. And I wish I could, because man, would I sell way more of our strategy product if I could promise those results. Yeah.
I feel like every genre is different too. Like if you're trying to get into like true crime, that market's saturated, but if you're trying to get into something that not a lot of people are doing, the trajectory is easier. Like you'll probably get a lower audience, there's less people interested in it, but the people that are interested are like starving for content, right? So.
Yeah. And there's just something's hot. And we've had plenty of people we've worked with or even just consulted, but not handled their content where they get a lot of views and comments and subscriber growth. And they're like, this is working. And then I'm like, how's the P&L? And they're like, eh. And then I've had people that only have 500 subscribers after 2 years. And I'm like, how's the P&L? And they're like, dude, we're getting at least like 2 leads a month and one's turned into a client. This is crazy because we only get X amount of views per month. That is real. And it's part of that unpredictability. Plus, like you said, style. What are you doing with your videos? What's the purpose? And are you possibly accidentally hitting on something that's trendy or hot or like you said, an unsaturated market? So there's so many variables that I just have to keep it real and be like, I can promise you our version of viral. If you're willing to listen to my definition of viral, I'll promise you our version, which usually gets people a little bit intrigued. They're like, okay, what's your version? I'm like, okay, right now you have a standard kind of analytic connected to your videos. And after we work together, whether I'm helping you look and sound good on camera by upgrading your equipment, or I'm editing your stuff to be way more impactful and tell a better story when we're done. Once you start doing that, your baseline will be outperformed either by the algorithm or humans sharing it with other humans because they enjoyed it or they wanted to share something helpful with someone else or whatever. So if you normally get 40 views on average, I guarantee we can outperform that. So viral means either the algorithm or the humans doing the work for you instead of you. I can promise that's going to happen. Is it 10 more views per video? Is it 100, 1,000? I don't know that, but I guarantee that we can make you go viral, because in our world, viral means the algorithm or the human is doing the job for you and you don't have to be there for it. And of course, then reality sits and they're like, well, that doesn't really tell me much. I'm like, well, it's what we can guarantee though, you know?
Yeah.
But again, you said consistency. If you do that over time, bam, there you go. And it's like the stock market, it will compound. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They get used to it. And also, like, I feel like the algorithm was going to like support you. They're like, oh, this person does a lot of stuff consistently. And so like, let's keep putting it out there, you know, like not everyone is the Demon Hunter, you know, movie out there. Like that viral is very few and far between. Like, I don't think, you know, you're not a Justin Bieber who's going to get discovered on YouTube at like 15. So like those are rare cases.
Yeah. Luck, which I don't know if I believe in, but give it whatever term you want, exists. Like it is part of the equation. I'm sorry. Growth in business is not 100% math. Like the better you are at it, it's a higher percentage, but it's never 100%, because I guarantee you when they were creating, you know, the K-pop thing, they weren't like, this is going to smash all records on Netflix. You don't create that way. You do your best and hope, man, I hope people relate to the story, but yeah, it's 1 in 100 million, you know? So unfortunately, that's the landscape of the internet though. And people see other people doing well and they're like, edit my stuff and I want to go viral. And it's like, well,
right. And you're like, that's, and to them, that's what viral means. And you're like, no. There's like a much more normal way to do it. Well, this has been really great. Okay. I have a couple more questions. So, what camera advice works best for you? I know everybody's different. We all learn differently, but what has worked best for you? To get you comfortable on camera. I guess that was really a broad question.
No. I like it. And that's kind of where my brain went anyway, because we really only talk about 3 things. We talk about storytelling, strategy, and then camera presence. So it's something that we're constantly creating content about. I'm thinking about, I'm trying to help people with. So kind of what I think about a lot is that we as humans tend to get fixated on things too easily. And if we just take a moment to think about it a little longer than normal, sometimes we can break that fixation. Again, it doesn't mean that we eliminate it or, you know, win instead of losing. It's just part of the process. So I think about things like, you know, like how someone thinks about fear. A lot of people look at something like fear and they're like, it needs to be vanquished or banished or overcome or conquered. And I look at fear more like something that I'm like, well, you're here. So sit down. Let me deal you in a hand of poker. We're going to play. Hopefully I'm doing good enough this week to win. Beat you. All right. You know, see you next week. Or sometimes I lose and I'm like, wow, I don't feel great about losing that hand, but we're going to make it through today. It's still okay. I didn't bet the whole pot, whatever. Yeah. And I'm a metaphor and analogy guy. So I'm always thinking about the things we have to come up against in reality as these kind of like stories or scenarios that maybe if you just think about it a little bit differently, you might be able to find a way past. And all of this, again, will keep leading back to consistency, because if you find a way past, that means you can do it again. And so I think a lot about that when it comes to camera presence. And then I think about, I've been asked many times on podcasts and doing workshops in large communities and stuff, like, if 1 million people were listening to you right now, Dan, what's the one thing you would tell them? I've been asked that question in some form many times. And the answer has always been the same since like 2018. And it's give yourself grace. At the end of all of this, give yourself grace. It doesn't mean that you can't shoot a clip, watch it back and be like, oh, this is terrible. It doesn't, you can say that, you can feel that, it's okay. Yeah. Then you give yourself grace and you're like, but my smile looks pretty good on camera. So I'll remember to smile, because at least that's one good attribute, you know, and you kind of go from there. The other thing is to start thinking about things that aren't technical. So one of the things I love turning people on to is stand-up comedy. Love it or hate it, the art form itself, in my opinion, is the purest form of storytelling. You're vulnerable. You're in front of other humans that could turn on you in an instant. Mm-hmm. Generally, you're self-deprecating. You're opening loops. You're closing them 20 minutes later. The 6 people who got that you just threw back to that 20-minute ago joke, you're like, you guys are my people. You saw it. You think it's funny. Yeah. You make a genuine human connection. You sneeze and a booger comes out and you wipe it and you're like, well, that just happened on my special I'm filming right now. And you move on. So you're relatable. And they're like, wow, you handled that well. And it was embarrassing, but it was also funny. all of those things happen when you give yourself some space to, give yourself grace. Like, do the thing, but don't try and make the thing the final piece. You're not making one video. You can make thousands like I have. And I've got some that I love, and I got some that I'm like, I mailed that in. But in the making, you get better, become more comfortable. And of course, then you get those hits sometimes that really resonate with people at the right time. And I guess the final thing is we got a really cool free tool called the Psychology of Camera Confidence. And it really talks about scientific studies done on things that aren't filmmaking. So I talk about like professional sports and Olympians and all these different things and how visualization comes into play. Or if you've ever seen an F1 driver sit in a chair with his eyes closed and take all the turns, he's doing the track that they're about to drive in a week, and he's got it memorized. And in his head, he's driving that track right now. And then he does a better job when he's on the track. Breathing exercise, grounding, touching your desk and your floor, and like, I'm here, I'm safe, it's okay. I can hit record more than once. Maybe I can even edit this thing and get rid of the bad parts. Like, it's going to be okay. And I love sharing those sorts of tools too, to just get people's mind off the technical and more onto the human experience, because that's what we're trying to capture anyway. Mm-hmm. And kind of the final component of that whole thing is understanding that the human condition exists. We all behave relatively similarly to each other. We have fight and flight and freeze and all the things. And so if you identify that and you just kind of come to terms with it, you then can start making decisions in the future that make the whole thing a little bit easier. So it starts getting into the like mindset part and the heady part a little bit, but that's what I think about the most with camera confidence, unless you're a newscaster or a theater major or a professional actor. Then you know how to turn on that other human. But in most of our cases, we're just trying to make it through.
Yeah, right. And no, not all of us, like Beyonce, have a Sasha Fierce. She has her persona that she turns into, which is on stage. And you're like, I don't. Yeah, most of us don't have that. But what about? Okay, you were talking about the tool. What is that tool? Where can people find it?
Yeah, we got a short link. It's sauce.tools/psychology. Happy to give you the link, share it with anyone. And it's just a little email mini course. You just get 5 emails over like a week, and each one deals with a different type of tool that you can implement when it comes to psychology. And if you just have kind of in your mind that I can apply these things to creating great video too, it's a really fun exercise. It's not a take a test, get graded. It's, I didn't know this information. And inside of every one of the emails, I do have some outside references as well to articles and stuff that back up that this stuff's actually been studied and all that. And it's not just Dan saying, do this or do that. One of the fun ones is blowing on your thumb. I don't know if you've ever heard this, but it's a super interesting thing. And I'm not into weird. Yeah. Like you mostly block the airflow and blow around it. And it calms the central nervous system.
Okay.
It's so weird. And again, I'm not into like, voodoo and healing rocks or whatever, but like my mom was a nurse growing up, and I believe in science and medicine, so I was like, really? And then I read through some of the studies. I'm like, wow, it's crazy how it actually works. But I've had times where I'm kind of nervous, heart beats up a little bit. Maybe I'm on someone, doing a workshop in a really big group. I know it's going to be a lot of people there, and I get a little bit of those butterflies and stuff. I'll just blow on my thumb, which again is just blocking about 80% of the air that comes out. So your cheeks puff out and your air goes slower than if you just blew normal. And you can kind of feel your heart rate come down, and you can kind of feel some of the flushness go away in your face. I'm like, this is so weird. But again, it's something that worst case scenario, maybe you could, go hide in the corner, blow on your thumb a little bit.
On your thumb, yeah.
You're in the
bathroom, like.
Yeah. Excuse me, what are you doing? Like
I'm okay.
Hold on. But yeah, there's fun stuff like that too that has nothing to do with filmmaking that people can sometimes grab onto. Yeah. And one of the most utilized spaces in our community is called the Video Sandbox. And it was built just to fly your ideas and then also put your rough drafts for loving critique and feedback from other people doing it, plus video professionals like myself. And that's really empowered a lot of people because they know we're not going to be like, this is garbage. What are you thinking? You're dumb. This will never work. We're thinking, not a bad idea. Maybe if we eliminated this and centered up the framing, it might be a little easier to watch. Do another crack at it. Okay, cool. This, and that. And it's not about like trying to direct their videos. It's about giving them that loving critique and feedback. Mm-hmm. And we used to run a cohort a month-long intensive. And at the end, every single cohort we ran, the number one piece of positive feedback was getting loving critique and feedback from each other, not me, the pro, all the other people in the group. That was always the number one thing people loved. And you would think to yourself, I don't want to go be judged by my peers. That sounds horrible. But the thing people loved the most after spending 4 weeks with them was getting that critique and feedback from other people who are on the same journey, because they knew that they weren't just grilling them to grill them. They were like, oh, you know what I found last week when I filmed is this, that might help you. And that like camaraderie was incredible.
It is, yeah.
So
because we have more in common than
like
we do different, right? Like,
back to the human condition. Yeah. Yeah. And I know, like, we spoke about your technology forward, and I love talking about gear and stuff. And we've went mindset a couple different times, but it's always been from the launching point of technology. So it's like, we have to interface with this technology. How do we do a better job of that? So if and I look at it selfishly, like, I spent this much on this camera, lens, and teleprompter. I want my videos to be good. I'm going to go do this extra work so I can actually, use these tools better. So yeah.
That's cool. All right. Well, thank you so much for being here. Okay. I always end on the last question. What advice would you give to someone just starting out?
Well, I already used give yourself grace. So we'll count that as on the pegboard already. Look at your own personality, other hobbies you've had, other things you've done in your life, the things that you've loved as a kid or as an adult or whatever, and try to incorporate those somehow into video and trying to have fun with it. So if something you did was woodworking, you don't have to show your woodworking on camera, but maybe you could keep one of your favorite pieces close by, because I love that piece. Every time I look at it, I think about how much fun I had learning this craft and whatever. Maybe you could stimulate yourself a little bit to be like, maybe this is the next thing I could kind of fall in love with. Anything you can identify with that brought fun into your life, I really try and bring into video, because at the end of the day, if you remove the hard parts of it and you just think about like fun idea, end result, you can get excited. Like, I just finished filming and I'm editing right now for a YouTube video coming out called The 7 Deadly Sins That Kill YouTube Channels. And I took all of the literal 7 deadly sins and related them directly to things channels do that are detrimental. So much fun. I love the movie Seven, Fincher. Like, there's so much about it that I had so much fun. I created all these medallions with like iconography and the word, gluttony and lust and all the stuff on them. And the coins spin up and you see it for a second before it drops. I had so much fun making that video that kind of eliminated the grind part of making that video. So the more fun you got, the less it kind of hurts. It's almost like the medicine and the cheese, if you will.
Like, you want to. Yeah. Again, you want to put in the work. You want to do, because it's all the details that you put in that makes it fun.
Yep.
So that's really cool. Well, thank you for being here. Where can people find you on socials?
Yeah, I try to make it easy. And this came from having a podcast and then wanting to be on a lot of podcasts. I bought the URL years ago, danhaslinks.com.
There you go.
So if you can remember Dan and the fact that I have some links, danhaslinks.com. And it's just a bunch of buttons on a page that send you everywhere we're at.
That's perfect. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. And I hope we can do this again soon.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, this was fun.
All right. Thanks.